What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going through my game week 4 Premier League predictions. Arsenal against Nottingham Forest, big game. Obviously a lot of stuff's happened with Nottingham Forest behind the scenes. Nuno Espirito Santo's been sacked, Ange Postecoglou's come in. I'm going to do another video on that. I just think it's a really weird appointment and it's not going to end well. But the former Tottenham manager coming up against Arsenal in this first game, it's going to be a tricky one. Arsenal need to win after losing before the international break. They will probably still be without Saka, but Madueke has looked really good and he was arguably Arsenal's best player against Liverpool. Hopefully we'll see Eza starting, but with the very big tactical shift that we'll probably see at Nottingham Forest now, going from one of the best counter-attacking teams in the league to a team that will try and have more of the ball. Will they be able to handle that properly? I don't know. But I think Arsenal are going to win this 2-1. At home, it's a game they kind of have to win, and I'm backing them to do so. Bournemouth against Brighton. Bournemouth have actually had quite a good start to the season. You know, they were very good in the first game against Liverpool, especially going forward. They didn't win that one, but they have won the two after that, and their performance against Tottenham was brilliant. Brighton started a bit slowly, but were really good against Manchester City, especially when Hertzler made the subs. Bit of a South Coast derby as well. Fairly even contest usually. I say that Brighton did do the double last season and they have won 4 out of the last 5 meetings between the two sides. But I feel like it's never really super one-sided in terms of the match. And given the fact that Brighton are still a bit jittery, Bournemouth seem to have found their feet really well. Again, Brighton do have the edge in terms of the record, so I've gone with a 2-2 draw. Bournemouth have kept 2 clean sheets in a row, but I do not think they'll keep the third because Brighton's attack is very good. They've got so many good players in there. But likewise, Brighton defensively shaky a little bit, and Bournemouth have some very good attackers too. Crystal Palace against Sunderland. Both sides have started really well. The Crystal Palace are still unbeaten, but they have drawn 2 of their 3 games. Sunderland have won 2 out of their 3 and have made a brilliant start. Great win for them last time against Brentford. Mayenda, I love you, mate. You know what? I forgive you for ruining my bet the other time against Burnley last season. What a guy, man. At home, Crystal Palace aren't very good though. And although Sunderland did lose their only away game so far this season, I feel like they could really get another win here and, you know, pretty much already cement themselves as a Premier League team for next season. Crystal Palace do also have a big derby coming up against Millwall just a couple of days after this game. Obviously, they should probably win that because, I mean, Millwall are a championship team, mid-table championship team really as well, but it's still a pretty big game. Maybe this is just because I don't like Crystal Palace, but I am backing Sunderland and I've gone 2-1. I think they're going to keep their momentum going. They're going to win again. They're going to have 3 wins out of 4. The 2 other wins were also against London clubs, so the omens are good for Sunderland and hopefully they can get the job done. Everton against Aston Villa. Now, after a very poor first game, Everton have been brilliant. They were fantastic against Brighton. They were fantastic against Wolves. 2 big wins in those games. Jack Grealish has looked like the second coming of Kevin De Bruyne. 4 assists in 2 games. Could have even had more. He has really been reignited and it's really good to see. Aston Villa, the only team in the Premier League that are yet to score a goal. They've been horrendous. You know, losing 3-0 at home to Crystal Palace is embarrassing, and Unai Emery really does need to sort it out sooner than later. Just mentioned him, but Jack Grealish coming up against his boyhood club is going to be interesting. You know, he doesn't really get a good reception usually, but obviously he's at home, so it shouldn't really affect him too much. But I think he might have a bit of a point to prove, and given how good Everton have been and the fact that Dibling's in now as well, I do think that Everton are going to win, and I've gone 2-1. Villa will finally score in the league this season, but I don't think they're going to get anything just because Everton have looked really good. Obviously, they've won their first game at the new stadium, so I guess the nerves of that have already gone. So the stadium should be bouncing. And when the Evertonians are singing and they're happy, it's really difficult to get anything against them. Fulham against Leeds. Fulham haven't had a very good start to the season. They haven't won. I mean, you could argue they maybe should have won against Chelsea. Even as a big Chelsea hater, I mean, I'm also a Fulham hater, I do think it was a clear foul, and I don't really understand why there has been so much outrage about that goal not being given. Leeds have actually had a very good start in my opinion. Like the way they played against Everton was really good. Yes, they got smashed by Arsenal, but that was kind of to be expected. And I mean, they got a draw against Newcastle, which is a very good result too. 4 points on the board already, and I actually would have backed them to get something here, but their goalkeeper is injured. Perry hasn't had to do a lot so far this season, but we know how good he is given what he did last season at Lyon. You know, he helped them qualify for the Europa League again. He was in the quarterfinals. Like, you know, he's a very good goalkeeper. And if they have to play Carl Darlow or Meslier, which would be horrendous, it makes their task a lot harder. Like Fulham, yes, they haven't won yet, but they have played okay. And because Perry is injured, I think Fulham are going to win 2-1. I mean, they need to get their season going sooner rather than later, because they didn't have a great transfer window. And given how well the newly promoted teams have all started, Fulham maybe could find themselves in a relegation scrap if they don't win this game. I do very much hope I'm wrong about this, it goes without saying. So hopefully Leeds can get the job done, but I just think it's going to be really difficult without Perry. Newcastle against Wolves. Newcastle have not had a great start to the season. They were robbed against Liverpool, even though they only had 10 men. They should have won that game, but the referee didn't send Gravenberch off when he should have. Bottled it. The other two games they haven't scored, although they were the better team. They obviously were missing a striker because their striker decided he just couldn't be arsed tidying up. What a rat, man. I actually hate you so much now, man. But they have solved that issue by bringing in two new forwards, Voltemada and Jan Visar. I think Voltemada probably will start just because he's had a few more training sessions, given the fact that Visser came back later from national duty. But Wolves are the only team in the league that have lost all 3 of their opening games. They've had a horrible start, and I think that's just going to continue. You know, like, they're not going to come to St James Park and win. They lost 3-0 their last season. I think they're going to lose 3-0 again. I think Voltemada is going to have a phenomenal debut. He'll get on the score sheet. Harvey Barnes will score too. And I'm going to say Sandro Tonali is going to score a belter. It's imperative that Newcastle win this game because, I mean, they've obviously got aspirations to be at the top end of the table again. I don't want to say Wolves have had an easy start to the season because they have played Manchester City, but it hasn't been particularly difficult. And the fact they've got no points on the board, the fact that, you know, they look so easy to score against is very worrying. West Ham against Tottenham, London derby, a fairly big London derby as well. It's always a bit of heat in this fixture. Even more so now that Mohamed Kudus has made that switch. So he's going to get a very frosty reception at the London Stadium. But given the fact that West Ham absolutely obliterated Nottingham Forest before the break, I think this is going to be a game where they do well in. You know, if they had lost that game, I think Tottenham could have come in and won 5-1. But the way they played against Nottingham Forest, I mean, I know it was 0-0 for a lot of the game, but the ending there was fantastic. You know, Somerville coming back from injury looked electric. Obviously, we know how good Jared Bowen is. He's arguably the most underrated player in the league. He's fantastic, and he, again, was brilliant in that game. Wilson scored, looked really good, although he did rob Bowen of a potential goal of the season contender. They've got a few new players that could also be making their debuts. West Ham looked all doomy and gloomy just a couple of weeks ago, but now, you know, you look at them and you might think they're on the up a little bit. And it's kind of the opposite for Tottenham. Like, they started really, really well, and then they lost at home to Bournemouth. They were absolutely horrendous throughout the game, but they have signed Simmons and Kolo Muani, so, you know, again, positive for them too. It's going to be a feisty game. It's going to be a very tough one to call. You know, when two rivals come up against each other, the players they have, the form doesn't really matter too much. So I've gone with a 1-1 draw because I just can't call it, man. How will Kudus react to the reception that he's going to get? How will he deal with that hostile atmosphere? So he'll either look like prime Lionel Messi or he'll look like Lionel Messi at PSG, you know, we'll have to see. Brentford against Chelsea, another London derby, a West London derby this time. Brentford have won their only home game of the season so far. Chelsea are unbeaten, they've got 7 points from 3 games. Although they haven't looked particularly great, if I'm honest with you. Like, watching them, they've looked really boring, but all 3 of their games have been London derbies. So they'll have started the season with 4 London derbies in a row, which is a bit crazy. The last 3 Premier League meetings at the G-Tech between these two sides have ended in draws. Chelsea have won the only previous fixture before that. Obviously, I'm a QPR fan. I absolutely despise both of these sides. Like, I cannot express my disgust for both of them enough. I do want Chelsea to win this because I feel like, you know, they're not going to be in any danger. This game doesn't mean that much to them. You know, they win, yeah, cool. They'll, you know, help them on their potential title charge. They lose, they'll just be in the top 4 race. It's not really a big deal. But if Brentford were to win this, then it would help them escape the relegation clash. It would be huge 3 points for them. So maybe it's a bit of wishful thinking, but I have gone 2-1 Chelsea. It's going to break my heart to see him in a Chelsea shirt on the pitch, but I wouldn't mind it if Facundo Buonanotte was the guy that won the game. Just for this one though, you know, hopefully he doesn't play for Chelsea again after. Burnley against Liverpool. This is probably the easiest game to score. I've won 3-1 Liverpool. I mean, if Man United can score 3 goals against Burnley, then Liverpool can score 3 goals against Burnley. Burnley have actually been quite impressive this season. Like, they beat Sunderland. They were minutes away and a penalty away from getting a point at Old Trafford. So they've done well so far. But I don't think they'll be able to handle that Liverpool attack, and they shouldn't really be able to, because Liverpool have spent like 500 mil on it. So if Burnley can deal with it, then that's really worrying for Liverpool. But on the other end as well, Burnley aren't exactly a team that can score a lot of goals. Even though Liverpool aren't the most secure defensive team, they were really good against Arsenal defensively. And the only way Burnley can really win this is if Liverpool are just complacent. I don't think that will happen. Manchester City against Manchester United, the big Manchester derby. This game rounds off a derby-filled weekend. Man City can't lose again, because if they do, that'll be 3 losses in a row. It'll be 3 points in 4 games, which is just embarrassing for a team that are meant to be challenging for the title. Yes, they do have a lot of injuries, and they have a lot of injuries to key players, you know, the likes of Ryan Cherky, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Savinho, Marmoush, Rodri not fully fit, both Gvardiol and Kusanov out, which are their 2 best centre-backs. Like, this is crazy, you know, this is a mental injury crisis. But if they were to lose here, man, like, the title's pretty much gone already. Do you know what I mean? They'll be potentially 9 points behind if Liverpool were to beat Burnley, which they, you know, you'd anticipate they will. And Guardiola's record against Amorim is really bad as well, so if they were to lose it, they'd have lost back-to-back Manchester derbies at the Etihad, which is just not good enough. Especially not against this Man United team that are just so bad. You know, I know they spent a lot of money, but they're still horrendous. Man United, this is a huge chance. You know, they can go to the Etihad and win again. And given the Man City injury crisis, they really should be winning this, if I'm honest. No European football or anything. They spent 200 mil just on their attack. They bought in a new keeper. There isn't really a lot of excuses they can use anymore. Now, the one positive to the Manchester City sort of injury crisis is the fact that Jamie Doku should almost be guaranteed to start, and he was fantastic for Belgium during the international break. And I am backing him to have a huge game. You know, I brought him into my FPL team. I believe in that boy so much. I love him. Great player. And I think that he will be the reason why Manchester City win the Manchester derby 2-1. If Diallo is a guy playing at a wing back, he is going to be absolutely slaughtered. And yeah, Doku will properly announce himself this game. And you know, people always say, oh, but he's got no end product. This is the game he shows his end product. Yeah, you heard it here first. Those are my predictions this week. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you soon for another video.